Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? We are live. Are we live? Here we go. Here we go. Welcome to hashtag Wisdom Wednesdays. So I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that I would be doing these live videos, Facebook Lives, and I would be answering questions, sharing information about entrepreneurship, building confidence, achieving your goals, so many things. And I'm just trying to keep my promise. So we're live here, and I just want to thank you guys for coming. Today we're going to be talking about 7 benefits of a side hustle. And so I'm going to be sharing some things that I learned about starting a side hustle a while ago. I'm also going to be sharing some things that I've learned from some of my mentors and my coaches, and even some of my friends who have been entrepreneurs for a long time. So it's all about the side hustle today. And before I go any further, I am Danny Stone, your success coach, author of the book You Have the Keys Now Drive, community servant, and speaker. Damn, I'm tired. I got a lot of titles. I have a lot of titles. But you know, it's important for me to say all of those things, because if I don't, I feel like I'm cheating the other ones. And I actually love everything that I do. So it sounds like a lot, but it's actually all connected. So that's a little bit about sort of what I do. And so I'm happy that you're here. And so for any of you who are on here live, type a 1 and put where you are from. So if you're on here right now watching, type 1 and where you're from. So anybody who's on here live right now, I want you to type a 1 and where you're from. And if you're watching this replay, I want you to type a 2 and where you're from. Okay? So again, it's 7 benefits of starting your side hustle. All right? And, you know, my entrepreneurship journey started many years ago. It seems like I've always had a side hustle going while I was working for other companies. And almost as long as I can remember, at least the last, 10 years or 15 years, I've kind of always had a little side hustle going. It was never, a major business or anything like that, but I was always definitely dabbling in other things on the side while I was working a full-time job. And, I'll talk a little bit about some of the benefits of a side hustle. There's some obvious ones like more cash and more money in your pocket, but I'll share some other ones. But, I never really liked to completely rely on my employer to provide employment. I never really liked to just have one source of income. And if you're anything like me, maybe you're the same. Maybe you're a type of person who already has a side hustle, or maybe you're looking for a side hustle. And, hopefully this Facebook Live helps you out. But I've always kind of had a side hustle going on, and I've always believed in the power of sort of, you putting your own destiny in your own hands. And, that's a little bit of what a side hustle can do for you is you're taking control of your career, you're taking control of your life. It gives you so many different options. And that's what it was for me. Anytime I was unhappy with, the job that I've been working in at the time, I always looked to develop my side hustle even more. So maybe you're the same. Maybe you're the same. So today we're going to talk about 7 benefits of a side hustle. Okay, and I made some notes here because I don't want to forget anything. This is important stuff. You guys need to know this, and I need to remind myself of this as well. So 7 benefits of a side hustle. The first thing is obviously number 1 is that it teaches you how to make money on your own. It sounds pretty obvious, but that's what it's about. It teaches you how to make money on your own without relying on your employer or without relying on somebody else. And, that's the main reason that most of us start a side hustle. We want to make more money. We have goals. We have things that we want to buy. We have places that we want to travel to. We have things that we want to buy for our kids and our family. So the side hustle definitely helps out with all of that. And so it really teaches you how to make money on your own. And that's a real benefit of a side hustle, is you learn how to make money on your own. And, in 2018, I'm sure many of you are aware that, a lot of jobs are becoming obsolete, meaning they're no longer going to exist. And for many of us, we have to think about, is the job that we are doing going to be impacted by robotics and, electronics? And you can see this everywhere. You go into the grocery store, or you go into Walmart, or you go into the drugstore, and what are you seeing more of? You're seeing more self checkouts, right? And you're seeing less and less cashiers. You saw this with the post office. They let go of so many people because people are getting less and less mail and doing more online banking and getting and more electronic bills. And so, what happens to some of those mail carriers who've been doing that for 20 years? People who work in, factories and assembly lines. It's no secret that a lot of those jobs are being replaced by robots and so on. So, the real benefit of having a side hustle is that you're making money, you're making money on your own, and you're not relying on your employer or anybody else to pay you. And so that's one real benefit of having a side hustle. And, I think for a lot of us, I know it's a little bit sort of scary and you don't really know what to do as a side hustle, and you want to make some extra money and you don't know how. So once I go through the list of these 7 things, I'm going to share some links with you. I'm provided in the description, and there's about 20 or 30 ideas that you can do as a side hustle. So don't worry about it. If you don't have any ideas, maybe this list will get you started on some ideas. Okay. So number 1, we're talking about 7 benefits of starting a side hustle. Again, number 1 is it teaches you how to make money on your own. Okay. So number 2, it helps you test out ideas that could later on become a business, right? So, many of us don't just jump out of our 9 to 9. I call it a 9 to 9 job because it's not 9 to 5 anymore. Many of us just don't jump out of our 9 to 9 and just go full out into entrepreneurship. We have to think about it. We have to plan it out. We have to think about, weigh the pros and the cons. We have to save money and make sure our finances are in order. And that's great. That's definitely one way to do it. And some people just choose to just jump right into entrepreneurship, whatever works for you. But one thing that I do say is that the benefit of having a side hustle allows you to test out an idea that could potentially be your full-time gig. It could be your business. And that's what I did. I was working for other companies. I was managing training and coaching for big companies. And I realized that, I could do this stuff for myself. And so what I did was I set up a company, Personify Consulting and Coaching. And I put myself out there and I started to test out ideas. And I started to test out the business. I started coaching people on the side. I said, would anybody pay for this? People started paying me for coaching. I started doing training for other companies. And then what I would do is, because I had a full-time job, I would actually subcontract out the training to some of my friends who I knew were trainers, and I knew that they were very professional. So I would send them on the gigs under the name of my company. So I was testing out my side hustle, and I did that for years. And what's interesting is that I was running this side hustle for years, and many people didn't know that I had my side hustle. And that's the exact way I wanted it. The name of my company, Personify Consulting, you couldn't find my picture anywhere on that website. I think my name was on there, but nobody knew. None of my colleagues, nobody at my job knew. And that's the way I wanted it. So I was really testing out this side hustle to see if it could be a viable business. And so that's test it out, see if it can work. And if it does, then that could be something that you could run as a full-time business. So that's number two, the second benefit of starting a side hustle. The third benefit is that you can begin to build a customer base. With your side hustle, you can start to build a customer base. You can run this side hustle. Maybe it's an online business. Maybe it's, doing makeup or hair on the side. Maybe you're good at building things. Whatever that side hustle is, you can run it on the side, and then you can start to build your client base. You can start to see who's interested in what you're selling, the service or the product that you have. And that's great. And one thing that I always tell people is to get people's emails. It doesn't matter what type of business you have, you should be building an email list. And I can talk about that in another video, but building an email list is essential if you have any type of business. It doesn't matter what type of business. And what an email list is that you give people something for free, whether it's free information, a discount, a product or a service, anything. You give it to them, and in return, they give you their email address. And they allow you to send them messages about your products and services. And so collecting emails is essential because what it is it's a warm lead. These people are already interested in what you are selling or what you are going to sell, because you can start an email list even before you start to sell anything. You can just send an email out to all your friends and family, and you can say, hey, I'm gonna be selling this, or I'm gonna be starting this business, and I just want to know, is this a service or a product that you're interested in? If it is, give me your email, and once I launch it, I'll send you an email. So collecting emails is essential, and let me tell you, I've been following some big people online. Brendon Burchard, Lewis Howes, obviously people like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, all of these people, Lisa Nichols. All of these people in this personal development space, they're all people that I've been following for years. And one thing that they all do is they have email lists and massive email lists. And all they do mostly is sell to their email lists. So these are people who are making $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $9 million off of just selling their services to their email list. And so that's why it's important that you have an email list, even if you're just testing something out on the side. So it's really important that you collect people's emails when you're starting your side hustle. And that's a real benefit of a side hustle. So that's the third thing in starting your side hustle, okay? Starting an email list or building your customer base. And you can do that through emails. You can also do that through social media, like putting it, starting a separate social media page for whatever product or service that you're selling. Or through your own social media, you can let people know, hey, this is the product or service that I'm offering. So make sure you put it out there on social media if you're comfortable. Now, I always say that because, again, you might not want your employer to know about that. So you might have to be very careful about that. But there's lots of different ways that you can build your customer base. You can go to networking events. You can try to give away free stuff and build your email list. You can do word of mouth. Just let a few close friends and family know, and tell them to let other people know. So there's lots of ways to build your customer base. Okay. So number 4, the fourth benefit of starting your side hustle is you build your brand. Now this is a tricky one. As I said, you might not want your employer to know. However, with me, Personified Consulting was a completely separate entity from Danny Stone. So I was able to build my brand without people knowing that it was my business. And so if you're thinking about starting a side hustle, one of the benefits is that you have to begin to build your brand. And again, you don't have to be the face of your company or your service. You can set up a free Facebook page for your product or service. I have a page here for Personified Consulting. No one has to know it's you. But it's important that you begin to build your brand, because if you choose to turn your side hustle into, a full-time gig, then your brand is out there. People know what you're about. You started to build a customer base. And so when you jump into that world of entrepreneurship, you already have those things in place. Okay? So that's the fourth benefit of starting a side hustle. The fifth benefit is that you begin to develop entrepreneurial skills. And I think that's really, really important. You know, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, then you have to start to begin to think like an entrepreneur. And trust me, it's not easy. You know, when I first jumped into, you know, the entrepreneurship world, even with my side hustle, when I was working for companies and I had my business on the side, I was still thinking like an employee. So I had the mindset of, okay, I'm going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. And I had this mindset that, you know, I didn't want to spend money because I was just starting out my business and I really didn't want to spend money. And, you know, it's true what people say that, you know, you do have to spend money to make money. But I say you have to spend money wisely to make money. And so there are some business expenses that you absolutely need to do for your business. Like if you have any type of business, you need to have either a website or a Facebook page or a Shopify page that drives them to your product or service. That's an absolute must. Now, the Facebook page is free, but you might want a website. You may have to pay for Google or Facebook ads. I did mention that you need an email. You want to capture people's emails. So those types of systems, there are some free ones, but some of them you might have to pay for. So you have to start to think like an entrepreneur. And you have to put money and time into your business. So you have to schedule meetings with people that can help you grow your business. You might have to attend different networking events. You might have to attend different seminars. You might want to buy different books. You might want to buy some online products to help you learn about online business or whatever type of business you have. You have to dedicate hours of time, you know, watching YouTube videos. You know, YouTube is the biggest library in the world, and many people don't even utilize it for anything other than watching cute puppies and cats. You know, some of these videos have millions and millions of views of people just watching like silly stuff on YouTube. Well, I'm here to let you know there's like you can actually learn on YouTube. Like you can learn anything. There's girls on YouTube showing you how to put on makeup who have 2, 3, 4 million followers and are making hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million a year, showing people how to put on makeup. You know, there's a guy who plays video games and he has, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on his YouTube page who just watch this guy play video games. So my point is that, you know, to think like an entrepreneur, you have to utilize tools and resources. And so you have to start to get in the mindset of thinking like an entrepreneur. And that's one of the benefits of starting a side hustle. When you start a side hustle, you're actually beginning to develop your entrepreneurial mindset. And that's really important. Hey, Claudia. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Mom. I see you guys on here. Thanks for joining in. We're talking about 7 benefits of a side hustle. And so the fifth one is, again, develop your entrepreneurial skill set. And so you have to start thinking like an entrepreneur. And it's very difficult because think about it. You've been an employee your entire life. Most of us have been an employee our entire life. So to go from the employee mindset to the entrepreneur mindset, it just doesn't happen overnight. You have to build that up. You have to start to understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You have to understand that you have to invest in yourself and in your business. You have to be diligent with your time. You know, time is everything when you're an entrepreneur. You know, people who think that, you know, you're important and you can stroll in late, that you just can't do that. When you're an entrepreneur, time is of the utmost importance. So that's an entrepreneurial skill. Waking up late and hitting snooze. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, snooze is not in your vocabulary for the first 3 years. You know, you have to be up early. You have to utilize your time. And so a side hustle is the foundation or the early stages of you developing your entrepreneurial mindset. Okay. Does that make sense? If any of you guys have any questions, you know, leave a question, ask me a question here. But is this making sense to you so far? You know, these are benefits of a side hustle. And so hopefully these are starting to get you thinking about the things that you might need to do if you want to start this little side business, a little side hustle, or whatever you call it. Okay. So the sixth benefit of starting a side hustle is you can use your money from your side hustle towards your real entrepreneurial endeavors. So maybe the thing that you're doing on the side is not something that you would want to run as a business, but you can use that money and the networking and everything that you develop from that side hustle and put that towards something that you actually do want to start and run as a full-time business. Does that make sense? So you can use the money, the resources, the contacts that you get from your side hustle in whatever entrepreneurial endeavor that you may have. So that's the sixth benefit of starting your side hustle, is that you get to use the money, the influence, the branding, the clients or potential clients that you have in that side hustle, and use all of that energy and money and time and put it towards something that you may actually want to start as your full-time, business. Okay. And so for me, it kind of worked that way. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I was passionate about. I've always been passionate about helping people achieve their goals. I was always been passionate about helping people get unstuck from wherever they were stuck and moving forward. So initially, when I started my side hustle, I was working with companies, like going in and doing training, all types of training. But I was really interested in developing people. But I was doing all types of training. And then eventually I started focusing on individuals. I started focusing on, people who were feeling stuck in their jobs, people who were struggling to achieve their goals, people who just felt like, like there was more out there, but they just didn't know how to get it. And so my business shifted a little bit. And so what I did was I took all of the resources that I initially had with my company and I shifted it to really focusing on working with individuals and people. And so you can do that. If you start a side hustle and it may have nothing to do with anything that you're interested in running as a business, but you can take all of the tools, the resources, the contacts, the money, and put that towards something that you actually really are passionate about. So does that make sense to you? If that makes sense to you, type yes in the box. Okay. We're talking about 7 benefits of starting a side hustle. I see that. And the last benefit, the 7th benefit of starting a side hustle, is one that a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know about. And that's really tax benefits. It doesn't matter which country you're in. When you start a side business, there's often tax benefits for you for having your side business. And so what happens is that thanks for that. Yes, I see that, Claudia. So what happens is when you start a side business is that you get to write a lot of things off. So for instance, you could write off a portion of your house because you use it as your office. If you're leasing a vehicle, you could write off some of your lease on your vehicle. You may be able to write off some of your gas because you're a business person and you're going to business meetings. You may be able to write off some of your meals and your travel because, again, you're going to business meetings. You can even write off some of your dry cleaning. You can write off some of the clothes that you purchase because you got to look fly. You got to look fly for your business, right? So some of those things you get to write off as well. So I'm not an accountant and I'm not giving you any accounting advice whatsoever. You definitely need to get an accountant for this. But I'm just saying, from my own personal knowledge of having my side hustle and then turning it into a full-time business. Even as a side hustle, I know that I was able to write off some of the things that I was doing for my business. A portion of my cell phone bill because I was making business calls on my cell phone. A portion of my internet because I was doing lots of research on my internet. Some of the seminars that I attended. So I was able to write off some things even as a side hustle. So, make sure that you connect with a good accountant if you are doing a side hustle or if you're thinking about doing a side hustle. And they can tell you, everything that you need to know in order for tax purposes and tax benefits. But, from firsthand experience, yes, that's definitely a benefit of starting a side hustle is that in some cases, in many cases, you may be able to write off some of the things that you're using for your business. Okay? So those are the 7 benefits of starting a side hustle. I'm going to go through them all again. Number 1 is it teaches you how to make money on your own. So that's the benefit of a side hustle. Number 2 is it helps you test out ideas that may become your full-time business later on. Number 3 is it helps you build a potential customer base. So you start to collect names and emails of people who may be interested in what you're selling or what you're going to sell. Number 4 is you begin to build your brand, and branding is really, really important. So whether it's through social media presence or through friends and family or word of mouth and going to network events, you begin to build your brand for your through your side hustle. The 5th benefit of starting a side hustle is that you begin to develop entrepreneur skills. And that's really, really important because, again, like I said, most of us have been employees our entire life. So to go from employee to entrepreneur, it's a huge mind shift. So by starting a side hustle, it's going to help you make that transition and help you begin to shift your mind to become an entrepreneur. The 6th benefit is that you get to use the money that you make from your side hustle and put it towards your any type of entrepreneurial endeavors that you may have and anything else that you want to put it towards, right? So, you may have trips, or maybe you want to buy a house or buy a car, or, go on family vacations, or whatever it is. Your side hustle is going to allow you to do that a lot quicker than if maybe you were just only working a full-time job or whatnot. And then the 7th benefit of starting a side hustle is that, again, there may be, and there often is, tax benefits associated with your business. So you may be able to write off some of your cell phone bill, your vehicle if you're leasing it, some of your business trips, some of your lunches that you may be meeting up with associated with your business. So those are the 7 benefits of starting a side hustle. Do you guys have any questions? Let me know. Type a question in the chat box if you have any questions about starting a side hustle, entrepreneurship, anything like that. Just ask me any questions that you may have. Okay? I see you just jumped on, Wally. We're talking about 7 benefits of a side hustle. So I just went through the entire list. Do you guys have any questions about entrepreneurship? Any questions about a side hustle? How to get started? Some of the things you may need to consider? Go ahead and ask me any questions you like. And I will say this, a few of the things that I wish I had have known before I got into the start of my business. One of the things I wish I had have known is, the whole thing about the email list and about online marketing. Like, I didn't know anything about that when I jumped into my side hustle. I just jumped out there. I just started going. I really didn't understand how to start a side business. So for me, what would have been beneficial, hey, Trudy, I see you there, Catherine. What would have been beneficial for me starting a side hustle would have been, okay, what tools do I need? What resources do I need to start this business? And if that's something that you guys want me to talk about in another Wisdom Wednesdays, I can definitely talk about the tools and the resources that you may need. Thanks for all the hearts, guys. I can definitely talk about in another video the tools and resources that you may need to start a side hustle, or if you want to go full out into entrepreneurship, I can definitely share some of those tools and resources. And I can tell you about which ones are free and which ones are good. I can tell you about some paid ones. I can definitely let you know all of that. Okay? So does anybody have any questions about your side hustle? Any questions about entrepreneurship? Any questions about, how to achieve your goals or how to get started? Now's your time. Go ahead and ask. And I'm not saying I know all the answers, but, I'll do my best. Okay. We see some people here. Yeah. chat. Just type any questions that you have in the chat box, and I'll definitely answer them. So while you guys are thinking of questions, I actually have a blog post about the 7 benefits of starting a side hustle. So I'm going to put the blog post, the link to the blog post below in this message once the video is done. So I'll definitely share that with you. Trudy said, what do you do if you have someone in your life who doesn't support your entrepreneurship goals? Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good question. You know, one of the things that I often say to people is be careful who you tell your goals and dreams to. You know, you can't go around and tell your goals and dreams to everybody, because not everyone is going to support you. And sometimes it's the people closest to you, your family members, your boyfriend or girlfriend, your husband or wife, your children, your colleagues, your coworkers. And it happens, and there's really for 2 different reasons. One is that they don't support you because they're just haters. They're just simply haters. They don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you succeed. And often where that comes from is that many times people aren't happy in their own life. So it's difficult for them to be happy for you, and them seeing you jumping out and taking a risk and doing something that you want to do, it makes them feel inadequate. So what they do is they do one of 2 things. One of 2 things happens when you go after your goals and dreams. One of 2 things happen. One, people around you elevate their game. You inspire them and motivate them to take action on something that they haven't taken action on in the past. So when you begin to elevate your game, sometimes you motivate other people to do the same thing. Or number 2, you basically holding a mirror up to them and telling them that they're not inaccurate, that they're inadequate. And so then they start to hate on you, because what you're saying to them is that, you know, I'm out here doing what I need to do to make my life better, and you're not. And so that's when the hate comes in. You know, people just hate on you. So my advice is, 1, limit who you tell your goals and dreams to. Just work on them quietly and let people will see your progress. You don't have to tell people your goals and dreams unless it's somebody that you trust. And, you know, I think that that's the most important thing that you can do. And the second thing is to surround yourself, or to find mentors, coaches, and people who are doing the same thing. Find a support group, whether it's going to networking events, you know, checking out Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google. They all have tons and tons of groups of people who are, you know, just like you, who may be jumping into entrepreneurship. So spend time with those people. And I think those are the 2 things that I would definitely recommend. Be careful who you tell your goals and dreams to, and take action and let people see your progress along the way, and ignore the haters, because you have to understand where it's coming from. It's usually not personal. It's they realize that they need to do something in their life, and they're just not ready for that right now. And number 2, find supportive networks to connect with. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you. Any other questions that you have about entrepreneurship or starting a side hustle? Any other questions? So while you guys are thinking of questions, oh great, another question here. Hey Wally, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. How nervous were you starting your own? Who supported you in your achievements? Man, you guys are rock stars with these questions, man. I didn't pay anybody to ask me these questions. Great question, Wally. I was very nervous, man. You know, starting a business, you know, is very, very nerve-wracking. And I didn't have a lot of mentors. I didn't think I had a lot of mentors. And now I realize I probably could have went to some people who were already entrepreneurs, but I was nervous even about that. So I was very nervous about starting a side hustle. I was afraid of failure. I'm like, what if I fail? And I put myself out there and I fail. I was afraid of success. I'm like, what if I am successful? You know, am I going to be able to keep up with this business? I was afraid of what other people were going to think. You know, I was like, okay, what are my friends and family going to think about me leaving my quote unquote good job and starting my business? So I was nervous. Even as a side hustle, I was afraid to let people know that I had a little business on the side. And so I was very nervous. But, you know, the people who supported me were, you know, my family, you know, my mom, my sister, my brother, my uncles, you know, my wife. My wife, Trudy, was very, very supportive. You know, she really encouraged me to go for it. She knew that I had a bigger mission than to be working this 9-to-9 job. A lot of my, you know, some of my good friends, same thing, you know, they were very supportive. And then I found mentors. So you can find mentors, either virtual mentors. So there are people like, you know, Les Brown and Tony Robbins. I don't know them personally, but I consider them my virtual mentors because I'm always studying and learning and watching their YouTube videos. And then I would try to ask questions on social media and see if they would answer. So you can get virtual mentors. But then I got coaches. You know, I paid for coaches, a business coach. I also found other mentors that I could connect with personally. And so those were the things that really helped me to achieve you know, the transition from employee to entrepreneur. Good question, Wally. My mom, Marcia. Is it best to start with a list of steps? Yeah, you know, I think it's good. It's good to start with a list of steps. One of the things I'm going to be talking about, I'm working on a course right now, and it's all about how to go from employee to entrepreneurship. So that's going to be out soon. And one of the steps I talk about is finding your profitable passion idea. Excuse me. And your profitable passion idea comes usually from a list of things that you may be interested in doing. So I always tell people, make a list of everything that you're good at, all the skills that you're good at, everything that people say that you're good at. Then you make a list of, you know, your hobbies or things that you enjoy doing. And then you can make a list of anything that you're curious about, like things you want to know more about. So you can make a list of those 3 things. And in that, you know, you can start to do some research, or you could whittle through that list to figure out, you know, what would I want to do as a business? And, you know, you should always ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't getting paid to do? What could I do for 12 hours that I absolutely love doing? And if you find something in that, then it's probably going to be a pretty solid idea that you can run as a business. So I would start with that. Find your passionate, profitable idea, and then you work your way through testing it out, building your list, and then, you know, there's a point where you just want to launch it and make that transition. Oh, and the other thing is, you know, I usually tell people to save up enough money for living expenses for at least 6 months. So 6 months, save up at least six to 8 months worth of expenses, because once you do make that transition into entrepreneurship, it's going to take some time sometimes before you actually start to make money, or before you can make enough money to pay your bills monthly. Thanks for that question, Mom, because that actually leads me to, I talked about this in my last Wisdom Wednesday. It's 10 steps to find your passion and turning it into a thriving business. And so I actually lay out the 10 steps. So you guys are right on with your questions today. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to actually put the link to this download as well below in the email. So, you know, it's free. Go ahead and download it. It's about 8 pages, and it tells you the 10 steps to find your passion and turn it into a thriving business. So I'll put that there, and you definitely download that and check that out. All right. You guys got any other questions for me? I love these Wisdom Wednesdays. It's awesome. I love seeing you guys on here. And I want to, you know, really acknowledge you guys for being here, because, you know, it takes a lot for people just to commit to something. And even though you're just watching a Facebook Live, you're here learning and you're sharing and asking questions. And that's more than 99.9% of people would do. So just want to acknowledge you guys for being here. And thank you guys for jumping on. So any other questions before we get out of here? If you don't have any more questions, or if you do, if you think about something later on, you can always come back to this post and you can post a question. And for those of you who are watching this back as a replay, definitely post your questions as well. I always go back through the video once it's posted and read the comments. And that always gives me ideas for upcoming Wisdom Wednesdays. So I'm going to do my best to commit to doing this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, answering your questions, coming up with different topics, everything. Right now we're talking about entrepreneurship, but it's not always going to be about entrepreneurship. It can be about your health and wellness. It can be about relationships. You know, maybe I'll bring my wife on and we can talk about relationships. You guys can ask those questions. It can be about finances. You know, I can bring some of my financial experts on, and they can talk to you about finances and investments. So look, it's not just going to be about entrepreneurship. You know, I'm here to help, and I'm learning as well. So as I'm learning and stumbling, that's what I'm all about. And I'm not afraid to share my failures as well. Failures are lessons for success. So that's it. I want to thank you guys for coming on this Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll catch you guys next Wednesday. All right? And again, read the comments. I'll post a blog post, and I'll also post the link to get the 10 steps to your find your passion and turn it into a thriving business. All right? I am Danny Stone. I'm out.